So our second guest today is a pioneer in the semiconductor space whose company has the vision to help engineers stay ahead of what is possible. In areas as varied as automotive, telecom, and space exploration, I'd really like to welcome ADI's Mike O'Sullivan to the stage. Hello, it's been so long. Thank you so much for joining us again, Mike. It's great to see you.
Great to. Thanks for having me.
Some of you might not remember this, but we had Mike on stage a couple of years ago, and he's been on stage with me in Munich. What have you and the team been up to since then?
We've been busy since our last appearance on stage. From our LEAP initiative that we introduced in 2019 to a new lab approach, there hasn't been a dull moment.
I can imagine. Tell us a little bit more about this new lab approach. What prompted the change?
Well, like many companies, in 2020, our operations were severely disrupted by COVID-19. The need to work remotely exposed a difference in agility across functions. The situation highlighted how much better our design and test teams were set up for remote work. Validation, however, saw an initial efficiency loss approaching 30%, which was a big red flag for us.
I think that's something that almost everybody in the room can relate to. So how did ADI go about correcting this?
We needed to move quickly and began looking at ways to operationalize the lab. The idea was to leverage best practices from our design and test teams, such as standardization and centralization, to increase the efficiency. With this in mind, we began an initiative that enables a hybrid approach in our verification labs, or what we called Hive Labs. These labs aim to provide a scalable support infrastructure that allows us to standardize and automate validation. Having different teams using the same tools drives significantly more IP reuse across all of our development sites globally.
That's really amazing. With operations the size and scale of ADI, how did you go about selecting the right software framework?
That's a great question. Finding the right mix of tools that fit our requirements wasn't easy. This is where NI and its partner network came in. Using NI's PXI platform, we achieved the level of flexibility we needed to adapt to change quickly. As true partners, NI and Soliton also provided much of the architectural direction for developing test stand-ready code modules. This allowed us to automate measurements with a standardized code environment.
Mike, I think this is a great example of how standardization can improve the efficiency of engineering teams. I'm curious, what lessons have you learned from this?
You know, I've worked in the semiconductor industry for nearly 30 years now. And I've found that it's often most challenging to get engineers to entertain a new way of working. After all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I've seen this over and over again. Having the right tool but not using it correctly defeats the purpose. And in some cases, it can be deadly. I mean, Luke here is just a button click away from depriving us from the best movie trilogy in history. And that's one of the reasons why we're all here today. The engineers here hold the key to unlocking incredible opportunities within their organizations. I'd like to challenge everyone in this room to consider how they can reinvent their workflows from design through validation and test for more reuse.
You're right, Mike. I sincerely believe that test can be a strategic differentiator. But it comes down to your point here. It requires one individual to lead the change.
I agree. It's the imagination, or rather reimagination of test by individuals that helps products get to market quicker.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing the important work that your team is doing.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
You too.